about what's new in Dynamics 365 for retail, and we'll also talk about the roadmap that we have around this particular product offering. Before we get there, a quick round of introduction. So my name is Anil. I'm a program manager on the Dynamics 365 for retail team. I have got ownership around things like retail financials, order management, in-store components, compliance across all the different retail components, so on and so forth. So those are broadly the ownership that me and my team owns in the product. So let's dwell straight into what's new in the product and what's coming. So when we talk of investments and when we talk of capabilities, the retail team always looks at capabilities in these four major buckets, right? So we talk about fundamentals. Fundamentals are basically core set of capabilities that any retail solution or any point of sale solution needs to have, right? So something very fundamental that is something that is core to the product is what we call as fundamentals. Then we have got the bucket called as Omni-channel, and that's basically the investments in all the Omni-channel scenarios that we have in the product. The modern store, these are basically sets of capabilities that we have for your point of sale and for your in-store components. And last but not the least, intelligence and insights. So anything that we do in terms of intelligence insights basically falls in this bucket. So what we shipped and what we're going to ship is broadly falling into one of these four major categories. So let's talk about what we shipped so far. And again, this is not an exhaustive list of what we shipped in the last, I would say, 4 to 5 months, because it's too much of detail to be incorporated over here. But obviously there are public facing documents that talks about everything that we shipped in the different releases. But I have picked up on a few that I do want to talk about, and that's basically what is reflected on this slide. But again, this is not an exhaustive list. So in the fundamental sections, what we basically covered was, or what we basically shipped was the RCSU component. I'm sure you all know about this RCSU component. RCSU basically stands for Retail Cloud Scale Unit. This component basically helps you to achieve scale in your cloud deployments. And then this was shipped in 2 different stages. In stage 1, we basically kind of isolated the retail components from the core back office components. When we shipped the cloud version, basically the channel components and the back office components were in the same instance of the SQL database. With the first improvement around RCSU, what we did was we kind of separated them so that operations in back office or operations in the store do not really conflict each other, do not eat into resources, do not eat into performance on both sides, right? So that was the first set of innovation that we did for Retail Cloud Scale Unit. And post the first version release of it, we basically shipped an additional improvement around it that would help you to basically have retail cloud scale units in multiple geographies. So think about it as today when you deploy an F&O instance, or today when you deploy a retail instance, you basically choose a data center, and that's where all your components get installed. And obviously, you would basically use your internet to connect to the data center to light up all the capabilities. But in a retail scenario, you could possibly have got retail stores spread across multiple geographies, even spread across multiple countries in the world. And obviously having an architecture where every retail call or every retail store basically calls into one single data center does not really scale so much, right? So what we have done is with the RCSU component, you now basically have the capability where you can choose to say that either you want to have one or multiple RCSU components deployed, and where do you want those deployed. So you basically can come up with an architecture where you can deploy an RCS component specific to a region, and all the stores in that region can basically connect to that regional RCSU component. This would basically help you to have better performance and also have a good scale out story. And not to mention, even from a servicing standpoint, when you upgrade or when you install patches, you basically are not getting everything down because all those components are isolated now. So that's the first thing that I did want to talk about, from an enterprise readiness standpoint. Beyond that, throughout the last 4 to 5 months, we basically have been shipping extensions based upon requests that we get from customers and partners. I'm sure you all know about the fact that we did change our development model. We went from an inline code change model to actually an extension-based model. And then that basically meant that the app was sealed, and then every time you have to write extensions, the right extension points were required for you. So what we have done is, talking to customers and partners like yourself, we came up with a stack rank of extensions that we wanted to provide in the product, and the team has been executing against that in the last 4 to 5 months. In addition to that, we have made significant improvement in terms of telemetry and monitoring so that we can monitor the health of the service. We actually get intimated about issues that we see in customer environments even before the customer sees it. We can actually fine-tune your environments based upon those insights and those signals. So significant improvements have also been made in the telemetry and monitoring area of the product, which is something that you don't directly see, but it does go a long way in terms of the resiliency and the availability of the service that we ship. Performance and reliability. Obviously, we did have some perf concerns in certain aspects of our product. We have kind of doubled down on addressing those. So right from point of sale channel to the retail server, even in back office, we basically have made significant improvements around processes that basically had a perf degradation as things went by. So those were the set of improvements that we did in the fundamentals bucket. On the omni-channel side, we basically shipped capability around omni-channel auto charges. So this was a disjointed story in our product for a long time. We basically did support charges in the point of sale client, only from a customer order standpoint, but nothing beyond that. So we kind of harmonized our story around charges so that now you basically have a unified auto charges story across all our channels. We also did significant investment in the payments area. So I'm sure you all know that for a long time, we did not have a first-party payment connector, and we always asked you to work with third-party companies and third-party providers to basically address this space. But in the last few months, we actually did ship a first-party Adyen payment connector. And in addition to shipping that connector, we also made sure that that particular connector basically provides omni-channel capabilities around payments. So one scenario would be, let's say if you have a customer come in the store, or even if a customer places an order in the call center and you take his card details, when he or she comes in the store to pick up the product, you don't ask for the card information again because the token is already captured and the token is shared across all the channels. So once the token gets captured, it can be charged in any channel, right? So that really lights up customer experiences, that really delights customers because you don't have to keep presenting your card every time you interact with a channel. So that's the investment that we did in the payment space. In the pricing and discount area, we also enable support for promotions for shipping. So for example, if your card adds up to X value, you're eligible to get shipping free, for example, right? So that was a kind of discount or promotion that was not supported in the product. But again, we kind of heard the feedback from customers and partners that this was a requirement that people are lacking, and we kind of enabled that in one of the previous releases. Beyond this, we also enhanced our order capability to support exchanges on orders. So previously, a customer order sale and a customer order return were two distinct transactions, which again was not a great, delightful experience for end customers. So now we kind of enable the capability where on a single customer order transaction, you can sell as well as return products, thereby supporting the exchange scenarios. And similarly, in the return capability also, previously, if you have a customer who is returning items that were bought across orders, the experience was you have to return it order by order, which again was not a great end consumer experience. So now what we have enabled is we have enabled the capability where you can actually do one single return transaction across multiple sales orders and invoice. So those were some of the capabilities that we shipped in the omni-channel bucket. In the modern store bucket, we basically double down on in-store cash management improvements. In the physical store, cash is still a critical component or still a critical payment method in most of the geographies of the world. And even though we did have a reasonable story in terms of cash management capability, what we were really lacking is basically traceability of the cash. So if you recollect, for example, if you do a tender removal transaction, you basically do a tender removal and you say you're taking out the money, but what you never really captured was where was this money put to, right? So it was always one leg or one side of the transaction that was getting captured. So you didn't really know how cash was moving in the store from registers to registers or registers to safe or from safe to bank. That traceability was not available, and thereby you were not able to pinpoint accountability. So what we have done is we've basically enabled the complete traceability of cash in the stores. So now you can basically have a good audit in terms of the movement of the cash across the different registers and safe. And then there is also a process by, at the end of the shift, you can reconcile these cash transactions. We'll have a quick demo of that, and we can talk about that in greater detail as a part of the demo. The other thing that we support as a part of the modern store experience is something that we should have been supporting for a long time, but we never did that, was the capability for linked refunds, right? So you bought something in a store, you use your credit card. Now when you return it, you want the refund to go back to the same credit card. A very common scenario, but we did not have support for that. With the Adyen payment connector, if you use our first-party payment connector service, you basically get the linked refunds capability where you would be able to refund funds onto the original tender that was used. We also enabled capability around product discovery. So how you search, how do you configure search? So we have enabled some configurations in this space in the back office, which basically lights up capability on the point of sale channel in terms of how do you actually search products and customers. So if you remember, previously you basically had one search bar at the top in the POS application, and as you start typing and you press enter, you basically say you get a list of products or customers, right? So as a part of that process, we were basically looking for that search string across multiple attributes of customers and multiple attributes of products, which basically was not good both in terms of user experience, because a lot of products and a lot of customers would be returned because that particular string would be in multiple such attributes, whereas you might be just searching for a telephone number, for example, right? So both in terms of user experience, also in terms of performance, because we were searching across a plethora of attributes, obviously it did have a perf cost. So what we did is we enabled configuration in the back office where you can basically say, if you're searching for customers and products, what attributes are you searching for? Let's say you enable an email for search, you enable a telephone number for search. So now when you start typing the string in, you basically get presented with a list of attributes that you have configured for search, and then you can choose I'm searching for a specific value in this particular attribute. So the search is much more focused, which basically gives you better results as well as better performance. Statement postings. So I know this has been a hot space for us in terms of the number of issues that we see over here. We kind of did a lot of work in this space to basically enhance reliability, enhance performance for this particular feature. So some of the things that we did was we basically introduced a concept called as validation checker. So what we were observing is, based upon telemetry as well as the ICM tickets that we got, was either because of a bug in our first-party point-of-sale client, or either because people were bringing in data from third-party point-of-sale systems, which was not consistent with the data structure and the schema. We always had issues with statement posting. Statement posting is the last defense when it comes to posting retail transactions. There's a bug in point-of-sale client. The transaction can still go through. You import incorrect data into the retail transactions tables from third-party point-of-sale systems, and then when you try to post statement is basically when things start conking off, right? So now what we did was we introduced this concept called as validation checker, where even before transactions are picked for statement posting, we actually validate the transaction for a lot of things to make sure that it is good and it can actually be processed by the statement posting process. So with that, what happens is you do not have situations where you start posting, a few transactions got posted, and the moment it hits some bad data, it stopped posting, and now you have an inconsistent state in the system where you have got statements which is partially posted, sales orders partially invoiced, so on and so forth. So we basically are doing the checks and validations before even the statement posting process kicks in. We also introduced a new statement posting process where we introduce a state model in the statement posting document, which would help you to identify the transaction as it goes through different states. And then the rollback mechanism on that was also enhanced so that it's a much cleaner way of falling back if things go wrong. We also introduced capabilities for things like batch handling batches better. So as you all know, in the point of sale client, we don't have a mechanism to capture batch IDs for the right or wrong reasons. So when you are selling a batch tracked item in point of sale, you actually don't capture the batch ID. And then when statement posting process is trying to post the transaction in the system is basically when the system is trying to derive the batch ID based upon the configuration in back office and use a batch ID for the transaction. A lot of times, the batch was not present in back office, right, for whatever reasons. Now, in point of sale, the transaction got done, the sales got captured. Now, when you're trying to post it, system says you don't have the proper batch ID. So, and this was always a problem, and then ICM tickets would get logged, as support tickets would get logged, and we always had to go in and fiddle with data to actually make things work, which was, again, not a right customer experience. So what we have done is now we have introduced a parameter whereby you can capture a default batch ID, both for statement posting as well as for customer orders, so that if system is not able to derive a batch ID as a part of the statement posting process, it would actually use the default batch ID. So it will use the default batch ID, it will post the transactions, and then you can go back and then you can look at transactions that use the default batch ID, and then kind of do your root cause analysis and remediation from there on, right? So it doesn't stop the process. It basically let the process go through, and any kind of remediation happens after the statement posting has been processed. A lot more in that space, but I just called out a few in that particular area. Dimension-based discounting. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this, but today, if you are configuring discounts, and let's say if you want to configure discounts for red color for a specific product or for a specific category of items, right? The only way to do that was if you have discounts based upon one of the variant, you basically have to specify every variant of that combination in the discount configuration, right? With dimension-based discounting, what we have introduced is you basically can now configure discounts at a dimension-based. For example, if color red is what you want to run your promotion on, that's all you need to specify. You don't have to specify every SKU with the color red for the discounts to really kick in. So again, a significant enhancements in terms of user experience, perf, and all of that. Android iOS improvements. So we always had a sample client on Android and iOS, but then we kind of, invested much more in this space so that it is more productized than just being a sample. So both for Android and iOS, now we basically have got first-party clients out of the system. Additional sort of capabilities around paying multiple types of invoices. So in core AX, you have got different types of invoice documents like sales order-based invoices, project-based invoices, free text invoices, so on and so forth. Previously, we would only allow you to pay sales order-based invoices, but now we have kind of expanded the scope of that particular transaction to include other invoice types like project-based invoice, free text invoice, so on and so forth. The next thing was the capability around being able to launch a URL from within the point of sale application. So here again, it is not as just simple as launching a URL, but we also make sure that the right sort of credentials are taken care when the URL is being launched, and it launches within the context of the MPOS application. So it is much more than just being a hyperlink that you click on and it just launches a web page, right? So we have added capabilities around that. We have also added capabilities for suspend and resume transactions or improvements around show journal, gift card balance print, so on and so forth. In the intelligence bucket, we did ship something called as distributor order management. So this is a set of feature that basically allows you to configure business rules in terms of how you want to fulfill orders based upon inventory levels and based upon additional rules that you configure. So what happens is, based upon the rules, based upon the inventory availability in the different locations, system determines what is the optimal location to actually make that product or ship the product to the customer. As a part of that DOM improvements, we also enable something called as cost configuration. So in V1, we actually supported, or we kind of only supported distance as a criteria when we say an optimal decision. So distance was the only criteria to say what is the best place to fulfill. So in other words, the location that was closest to the customer's address got picked up by default, right? But since we released the version 1 of this particular feature, we have also added additional capability where you can actually configure cost factors, both in terms of shipping costs as well as other costs. So it is not just distance, but it is also the cost of shipment and the cost of packaging and the cost of handling that would get factored in the decision to say where to ship the products from. So this is what we have shipped in the last few months. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just some of the key things. But in the public-facing documents that we have for each of those releases, you've got much more in-depth information in terms of all the capabilities that we have shipped. With that, let's do a quick demo of the in-store cash management improvements that we have done. So what we have done is, on the retail stores, we have introduced the concept of a safe. So previously, even though you had cash management transactions like safe drop, there was never the definition of a safe entity. So you don't know what's safe, right? So now what we have done is we actually have introduced a first-class entity in the product called as safe. So if I look at my Houston store over here, and if I go to setup, I can see I can now define safes, right? I can define multiple safes for a particular channel, right? After that, what needs to happen is, in the functionality profile, we have introduced this capability where you configure whether you want to have enhanced cache traceability in the system. It is this particular parameter over here, enable cache traceability. If you turn this on, it's basically when the improvements around cache traceability comes into the picture. So with this sort of configuration in the back office, now you would start seeing the cache traceability coming up in the point of sale client. For example, I have got 2 registers opened over here. I'm not sure if you can see this very well, but this is register 15. And then I have got another register, which is register 20 over here, right? So let me go back to my Houston 15 register. And let's say I'm doing a tender removal transaction. So when I do a tender removal transaction, it tells me, are you trying to create a new removal? You say yes. And why is it asking you that? You would see that in a minute. Let's say I'm trying to remove $50 from this particular register, this particular shift. It says, great. You can capture some notes over here. I'm saying transferring to 20. And I can say choose destination. So the moment I choose destination, you get presented with a list of other registers and shifts that's currently active or even in suspended state for your current store. And then you can basically choose, you're taking money from shift 18 and from register 15, but where is this money going to? So in this, my example, I'm saying it's being transferred to register 20. You say, great, okay. And it also gives you a receipt print. I don't have it configured over here. So the experience before this feature was introduced was when you do a tender removal, it says, okay, how much money are you removing? And that's about it. It never used to track where was this money getting into, right? So that's the double-sided transaction on register 15. If I switch gears and if I go into register 20, so now register 20 is receiving the money. So the guy who took the money out from register 15 walks over and gives me the money. I'm a cashier at register 20. So I am logged into register 20, and I would basically do a float entry to receive the money into my register. So when I do a float entry, So this time it gives you a list of all those transactions which could have been directed to my register from a tender removal standpoint, right? So register 15 did remove some money. It could have been that register 17 removed money, register 18 removed money. So all those open transactions for register 20 get shown up over here. And now I can say, yep, I am receiving against the same transaction. So what, in essence, are you trying to do is you're trying to reconcile the transactions. So every money that comes out has to have a corresponding money going in across registers, across shifts, right? I say, okay, this is the same one I'm doing it. If I don't agree to this, I can actually say, nope, this is not the one. I want to do a new one. I can actually go over here and say new entry. It's possible, right? So in this example over here, let's say I'm receiving the same one, and it commits the transaction and gives me a receipt print. So this is how basically with cache traceability, now you have two-leg transactions happening across your stores. And then when you come into manage safe, you basically, like we said, we introduced this concept called as manage safe. So you would basically be able to see all the safe that's been configured for your retail store. And then for each of those safe that you have configured, you can actually do a whole bunch of cache management transactions, like declare start amount, float entry, remove tender, all of that. And again, these transactions are also two-sided or two-leg transactions. Last but not the least, we have put validation in the system to say that when you go to manage safe, unless and until your safe is balanced, you would not be able to close a shift, right? So basically what happens is, as transactions are happening during the day, at the end of the day, the store manager basically can look at all the cache management transactions across all the shift and make sure that everything is reconciled. If not, he or she can come to this view, and then when they hit the reconcile transactions, they get presented with a list of transactions that's not been reconciled. So in my case, I had everything reconciled. So if you go to the reconcile tab view, you can see all the transactions that's been reconciled. And the manager has the capability to unreconcile, because you could make errors as a part of the reconciliation process. So you could unreconcile, you could reconcile till the time the shift is closed. So basically at the end of the day, what you have is a completely balanced cache management transactions, and you have complete traceability of what removal was matched against what float, what declare start amount was matched against what float entry, so on and so forth, right? I know you've been asking, can you reserve your question till the answer? Yeah, okay. So that's a quick view or a quick snippet of one of the improvements that we did in the product in the previous releases. With that, let's go back and talk about what's coming. Okay, so what's coming? Again, from a fundamental buckets, what's coming? So we are doubling down on building enterprise readiness. So what that basically means is, as a retailer who has got operations across multiple geographies, stores are large spread out, how do I manage those devices? How do I manage the point of sale client from a centralized function per se, right? So in that, as a part of that story, what we're going to support is capabilities around silent deployments. So you would be able to run updates from a centralized place, and when you run those updates, it basically doesn't disrupt the point of sale that's already up and running. It does a silent install of the new package basically, and then it kind of, when the user logs off and logs in, he or she does not see any difference. So you are basically be able to run updates to point of sale client both remotely as well as in the background, so you don't disrupt the point of sale operations in the store. And that goes across all the in-store components, not just the point of sale client. It does it for point of sale, it does it for hardware station, it also does it for the retail store scale unit. And integration into MDM, this is what enables the capability where you can manage things remotely or from a centralized function. So we are building integration into System Center as well as Intune, so that you can manage all those devices and all those components which are geographically spread out from a centralized place per se. So that's what we are working upon in terms of mass deployment and servicing. We are continue to enhance our development and extension experience. So I'm sure you all know that we are on the one version bandwagon. So retail is also part of that. So we are also basically enhancing our developer experience so that it aligns to the one version theme per se. So in addition to building those extensions that's needed by different business scenarios, we are also providing the capability of optional package extensions. So you don't need to have the complete retail app in place before you can start extending it. You basically have optional packages so that you have got minimum footprint on your developer devices, and it increases developer productivity as well. We would do automated proxy generation, so you don't have to create those proxies manually. So it's going to be an automated proxy generation. We will enable support for Visual Studio 2017. And then we will also do NuGet references. So currently the references are all in the retail SDK and the retail app. So you basically, every time a new version comes out, you basically have to spend hours and manual exercises to actually refresh your developer environments. With NuGet references, it's all basically kept in the cloud. So you basically can update your references in a much shorter span of time, thereby again improving developer productivity. Our sample codes was in the SDK, but what we are doing is we are moving it to GitHub so that you basically can uptake those samples in a much easier and much more frictionless way. Desktop Bridge is a component that the Windows team has shipped that basically replaces the DLL host that we have. So today DLL host is our mechanism for the retail app to communicate to external services. We are replacing that with the latest technology that Windows team has shipped in terms of the Desktop Bridge. Last but not the least, we are actually working upon building the regression test tool on the point of sale client. So similar to what you have in the HQ in terms of being able to do a task recorder, being able to publish that to your test instance, providing sample data or test data, and then running those tests automatically, right? That capability was only available in the back office. With the investments that we are making, we will have similar capabilities also for the point of sale clients. So basically, whenever we ship something, and if you want to run your test automated behind the scenes, you can use the POS RSAT tool to do all your validations and your test after you basically install a update. So those are some of the improvements that we're doing in the developer experience. In the Omni-channel, around the payments area, we basically are going to support for incremental captures. So today what happens is you have a transaction, you swipe your card, a token gets generated, but what we don't support is an incremental capture. You add new products to the cart, and then let's say you have to pay something more. What we don't support is an additional capture on that same token, right? So we're going to be supporting incremental capture as a part of our payment story. We're going to enhance our payment views in terms of user experience so that it is much more productive from a user standpoint. We're going to support omni-channel payments rationalization. People who have been with the product for a long time do know that our omni-channel story is not very cohesive across all those channels, right? Things that work in call center does not really work in point of sale, so things that work in point of sale doesn't necessarily work in the call center the same way. So we have got inconsistencies in terms of how the different channels operate, one of them being payments. So we're going to harmonize the payment experience across all the different channels so that you have an omni-channel payment story. External gift card improvements, both for call center as well as for our third-party e-commerce channels. So we're going to be supporting, external gift cards as well as for a call center as well as for e-commerce channels. In the loyalty bucket, we basically would enable capability where you can exchange loyalty points to get discounts. We're going to be enabling capability where you can actually associate recent transactions to loyalty card and award points. So basic things like transactions have happened, the loyalty card was not captured, but now you can go back and say, hey, you want to go back and help the customer accrue the loyalty points on the transaction because he didn't press on the card when the transaction was being generated. So we're going to support for that. Convert loyalty points to coupons, something that we didn't support. We will support that in the future releases. Combining multiple loyalty cards into a family account. And then last but not the least, earning and redeeming the loyalty points in the same transaction. So those are some of the improvements in the omni-channel loyalty space. Under the modern store bucket, we are actually working upon a capability around clienteling, right? What that basically means is, today in the field, you always get questions about, I want to use a solution for clienteling. Is CE, customer engagement, the right solution for it? Is point of sale the right solution for it? This has always been a sticking point in the field, as a part of both in terms of implementation as well as when it comes to pre-sales. So what we're doing is, as a part of clienteling, we're actually building capability in the point of sale client with a close integration to customer engagement. So it is not that we're going to build set of capabilities in point of sale and that remains native to the point of sale, but it will actually start lighting up across not just channels, but across the other Dynamics 365 applications as well. So what are we doing? We're going to be building capabilities around client books. So you could have scenarios where you have got salespeople who have got dedicated customers assigned to them. So you would be able to manage something called as client book, where I, as a sales associate, can manage the set of clients that I normally deal with. We will support the capability where you can actually capture notes and activities as a part of your interaction with the client. So when the customer comes in and you interact with the customer, as a sales associate, I can capture notes, activities, things like that, which are going to be helpful for me as the process goes further, right? So we're going to be enabling those sort of capabilities as well. We obviously would generate and build product collections or product recommendations based upon the customer's pattern, buying pattern, customer's history, customer notes and activities, and then this would actually be presented as product recommendations to the sales associate so they can have a meaningful conversation with the customer. We would also support things like being able to be in touch with your customers, either through emails or SMSs from the clienteling app of the point of sale. Like I mentioned earlier, we would definitely be integrating to CE for some of those scenarios. And then customer insights in terms of customer analysis, customer behavior, all those trends would also be a part of the clienteling experience per se. So that's something that's been worked upon at the moment. Moving on. Pricing and discount improvements. Being able to distribute discount amounts across lines based upon for least expensive discounts. So today, when discounts were being captured, they were, especially discounts at a cart level, they were basically maintained at the cart level. They were not being associated at a line level. The improvements that we're doing is, even discounts that are being captured at a cart level would now be allocated down to the transaction line level, so that for scenarios of returns and refunds, you basically have a better story. Support for tender-based discounts. So if you use a particular tender, for example, if you use my branded credit card, I'm going to give you an extra discount, for example, right? We will support scenarios like that using the tender-based discounts. We will also support mix and match discounts with threshold. We did not have that for a long time now. And last but not the least, ability to restrict discounts based upon price groups. So those are some of the improvements that we're doing in the pricing and discount space. Store inventory improvements. This is again an area where we are investing heavily. I would start off from the bottom to the top. So today our story is, when you want to look up inventory, we always do a real-time call to back office to get the inventory information for you. We are going to move away from that model, and we're actually going to manage inventory at a store level. So you basically would have the notion of an inventory and a quantity in the channel. So basically, every time you do an inventory lookup, you're not looking up HQ, you're basically looking up at your own channel database. So you don't need to have a real-time transaction service call to get inventory information, right? So that's one of the big ticket items that we're working upon. And as a part of that, we're going to be adding capabilities around things like in-store inventory adjustments. So today we had some basic capability in terms of receiving items, shipping items, but as a store user, you you didn't have the capability to actually do inventory adjustments in the store, right? So we're going to be enabling that particular capability. We're going to be doing a much more better job in terms of handling inventory dimensions. When it comes to location, batches, all the serial numbers, all those inventory dimensions that we have, we're going to be doing a much more better process in terms of supporting those dimensions in the inventory management transactions in the store. So every time you receive something, every time you ship something, every time you do a stock adjustment, every time you do a stock count, all those dimensions would come into play, right? Which we did not have for such a long time. Sorry. As a part of the receiving story, we basically would enable capability where you can receive against a purchase order document, for example, or a transfer order document, or you can receive independent of a document, right? When I say independent of a document, what that basically means is I would have better capability in terms of being able to scan a PO, for example, and then not look at the PO at all and just keep scanning the products, right? That's the independent document receiving process. If you have a document-based receiving process, what you have is basically, sorry, you basically recall the document and then you receive line by line against the document. So we're going to be supporting both the capability. We would also have capability around things like barcode scan. So a lot of our inventory management process did not support barcode scanning. As a part of this enhancement, you would have capability where you would be able to use barcodes for most of the inventory transactions, if not all. Usability and worker efficiency improvements, both in terms of user experience, performance, and the number of transactions that you can actually do, and also reliability and performance improvements in this space. In the intelligent and insight in the intelligence and insights bucket, what we basically have is enhancements to our current distributor order management capability. So what we do not have today is things like taking into account requested ship date and requested deliver dates. Today the story is an order comes in, and if the order is eligible to be considered by DOM, DOM just picks it up and it assigns it to a location for fulfillment. Even if the order is supposed to be shipped 2 months from now, DOM doesn't really care at this point in time, right? So what we want to do is we basically want to factor in things like requested delivery and requested ship date before orders get assigned to locations for fulfillment. Being able to consolidate shipments in, and then eventually fulfill it to the customer. So what happens is, let's say I have got an order with 5 lines coming in. Not all 5 lines are available in one location. So today what DOM does is, DOM actually would take that order, and each line it may try to assign it to different locations. But the story is, it might be optimal if the orders or the lines can get consolidated into one single location before they are shipped out to the customer, instead of each location shipping directly to the customer. Today we don't support that. So with the next wave of improvements around DOM, one would have the capability to configure how should DOM behave. Should DOM consider consolidation as a factor? If so, DOM will look at what is optimal. Is it optimal to ship from individual locations, or is it optimal to consolidate that shipment into one single location and then ship that one single consignment to the customer? So it's going to factor for that as well. To support B2B scenarios, things like taking into account customer priority. So just because somebody places an order, I don't rush to fulfill that order, because I basically want to evaluate my orders for who are my most important customers, and I want to maximize fulfillment for those customers first before I go to tier 2 and tier 3 customers. So being able to factor in customer priority is something that we are considering as a part of the next wave of improvements. Last but not the least, today DOM runs as a single company feature. So it does not look at orders in a different legal entity. It does not look at inventory availability in a different legal entity. So we have got an aspiration where we actually enable DOM across multiple legal entity, similar to how MRP runs today. So it basically is an optimization of order fulfillment, not just in the context of one legal entity, but across legal entities. Next thing, product recommendations. This is something that we had in the product, I would say, sometime back, and it got deprecated for reasons best known to all of us. So now we are bringing it back. And we are bringing it back in a much better shape and form than the V1 version of what we shipped. So when it comes to product recommendations, we basically will support machine learning based recommendations. So machine learning based recommendations are things like picks for you, which is very personalized for you. People also like, so customers like you also bought this product, so that could be other set of recommendations, as well as frequently bought together, right? These are all examples of machine learning based recommendations, and we would support that as a part of our product recommendation experience. And then we also have simple algorithmic based recommendations, which are basically things like trending, best selling, new, which are it doesn't require a machine learning model, it's just simple algorithms that can help you get those recommendations. We also have a hybrid model where the algorithmic recommendations can be manually curated. So for example, you get a list of recommendations that you want to manually tweak for whatever reason. You could also do that as well. So being able to support machine learning based, algorithmic based, and also in hybrid mode where you can manually curate some of those recommendations is something that's coming your way. And from an experience standpoint, these recommendations will start lighting up on the product details page. It will start lighting up on the transaction screen as well as the customer details screen. So that's something that's coming your way in terms of the product recommendations. Perception analytics. In the whole talk about digital revolution, I mean, the one thing that's been constantly ignored is the intelligence that a physical space can generate. Like something like this room, for example, right? Based upon the data that I have in this room, based upon the physical attributes of the space, I can drive some meaningful business context, right? So this room may not be the right example, but let's talk about the retail store, right? You have your physical retail store, and then you have your checkout registers, you have your aisles, you have your racks, and then you have your back office location, so on and so forth. Now, how would you derive data and intelligence from a physical space to actually drive meaningful insights for the business, right? This has been one space that's been constantly ignored. So what we are doing is we're actually building something called as perception analytics. And the way it's going to work is it's basically going to rely on IoT sensors as well as the cameras that's been hooked up in your stores. So it would rely on the cameras and the IoT sensors in the store to drive scenarios like loss prevention. It could drive scenarios like foot traffic as well as dwell time. As a part of this, what we will also support is experimentation. What that basically means is I, as a store manager, can say that currently I have got a reduced foot traffic or a reduced sale in a section of my store. I want to monitor this space uniquely. So you can create an experiment to say, I want to monitor this space uniquely. You can configure a whole bunch of parameters in terms of what products are stored there, what categories of products are stored there, and then what happens is based upon the data signals that we get from the cameras as well as from the IoT sensors, we can basically look at not just foot traffic, but also dwell time to say that as people are walking by, how much time are they spending in each space, in each rack or each aisle, and what is their physical gestures like in terms of as they browse and look at those products. And all of that can basically drive data into the system, and then we can derive meaningful insights and business drivers out of that data, right? So that's so as a part of this perception analytics, we would support or we will partner with both third-party as well as first-party products. So Microsoft in itself is building a lot of capabilities in this space, and we also have got some partner companies who are investing heavily in this space. Based upon what scenario works best, we might either partner with a third party or a first party for given scenarios, right? So that's something that's also coming in the next few releases. So these are some of the improvements which I have spoken about in greater depths, but that's just not it. I mean, like I said, we got a whole bunch of other improvements which I have not really honed on in greater depths. For example, things like hydrating CDS entities or hydrating retail entities into the CDS stack, right? So today, if you want to build an app or you want to build an integration scenario or you want to light up a scenario across multiple Dynamics family of products, you basically have to rely on CDS, CDM. And currently, we do not have a great presence of retail entities in CDS and CDM. So we're consistently working and continuously working to actually hydrate more and more retail entities into CDS. We are continuing to invest in things like statement posting, where we're going to be going away from this notion of end of day, because statement posting traditionally has been an end of day concept. We are moving away from that to a much more real time, much more operational based, where we're going to be splitting the statement posting document into two sets of document, one of them being an operational statement posting and the other one being a financial statement posting. The operational statement posting process would actually create transactions like sales orders, invoices, and payments close to real time based upon how you configured it, so that you no longer have to rely on things like the inventory jobs and the end of day process to really post your sales and payments in the system, right? So using the operational document, you would be actually creating sales orders, invoices, and payments in a much more real-time way, whereas the financial statement will only be used to do cash reconciliation in the store at the end of the day, right? So you don't have to wait till at the end of the day for everything to happen. You basically can spread out the process during the day. We're also building capabilities around offline reliability, CDX improvements, so on and so forth. In the omni-channel space, we spoke about linked refunds, but that was just a part of the improvement that we are doing in the return and refund space. We basically want to get to a model where one can basically configure things like return policies, right? When can products be returned? What products are returnable? So on and so forth, right? Today we don't have that notion. So basically defining something like a return policy that can cover the entire gamut of everything that can happen in a return and refund space is something that we are considering. Task and notification. So we are building on a bunch of capabilities where somebody in the HQ, a persona in the HQ, can create a whole bunch of tasks that each store has to go and execute. The same thing happens from a store perspective as well, where a store manager can actually configure tasks for his employees. The tasks would be tasks which are more system driven. For example, a customer is coming to pick the product, so you basically have to go and do a pick and pack of certain products to be delivered to a customer, which are more systemic functions. And then you can have independent tasks. For example, somebody has to mop the floor, somebody has to put the signage correctly. So you would basically be able to define and manage tasks which are more system driven as well as non-system driven tasks. And we will also have capabilities around receipts and journal improvements. So our receipt designer story has not that been great. So I mean, we always get feedback to say that the experience is not that great when it comes to defining the layout of the receipts. So we would be investing in the space where we will have a much more user-friendly and a much more robust capability around defining receipt formats in the system. We will also do things like fraud protection. I'm sure you all know about the Dynamics 365 for Fraud Protection Service, which is an independent service under the Dynamics 365 family. Integrating that service wherever applicable in core retail channels is also something that we will work upon. So again, this slide does not reflect everything that we are doing, but it basically calls out some of the big ticket items and some of the core items that we are working for the next few releases. With that, I will open it up for questions. Can I go with the gentleman over there because he raised his hand first? Yes, sir. Can you repeat that, sir? You're not audible.
The save functionality?
Yeah.
Does that interface balances to headquarters, or is that only on the point of sale?
Okay. So the question for the benefit of the audience is, the save functionality that we have, does that integrate back into headquarters or the back office component, or is it capability only in the point of sale client? Well, as of date, that is the capability only is limited to the point of sale client. So all the data that gets generated, all the data that's created as a part of the cache traceability functionality does not really make it up to the HQ as of date. But again, that's a work item that we are working upon, where you would basically have the data come up in HQ so that you have it for long-term audit and everything. Yes, sir. Somebody over here raised their hands. Yeah. Sorry.
You want to use this, please? Excuse me. So how you see if a performance issue is coming for application, how to segregate whether it's with the application or with Microsoft component? Is you are recommending any tool to identify that, or we have to figure out our own way to judge that?
So the RSAT tool that we ship is mostly for regression testing. For functional testing, it's not really for performance testing. We don't have any recommendations to make in terms of this is a tool that we have partnered with or works best. Any perf testing tool that's available in the market that can run, that can be used against a Windows-based application.
But the trouble is that flow is not working. Whether it's due to application or due to Microsoft, that categorization will never get. And that process take a lot when we contact Microsoft. I hope you understand the problem. We are into a production where process is not working. And then when we are reaching to Microsoft, and due to that process, it take time, at least 24 hours to get resolution to that. By that time, losses are made.
Yeah, I'm not sure what exact scenario you're pointing out, but what happens is when you log a support ticket with us for a performance issue, based upon data that we have in the telemetry, as long as you can provide us the right set of data in terms of session ID, so on and so forth, we actually can go back into our systems and basically get a view of all the perf metrics that get captured as a part of that experience. So not being able to react to a performance bug because the data is not available, it's not really true per se, because we have got systems in place like telemetry and monitoring where things get logged in terms of not just API calls but a whole bunch of other things as well. So when support cases come in and the session IDs are available, we actually can go back into those systems and get a full trace of what happened when kind of thing. So maybe that's something that we can talk about in detail as a
Sure.
post this session. Yeah.
So in terms of the DOM you mentioned about consolidation, does that mean it's going to create a transfer order?
That's right, yes. Yeah. So the question, just for the interest of the audience, the question was the consolidation feature that I spoke about in terms of DOM, will that create transfer orders to move products from one location into a central location before they are shipped out to the customers? Yes, it will create transfer orders.
I have one more. What's the roadmap for e-commerce?
The roadmap for e-commerce is what we have currently. So we have got partners and ISVs. We will continue to work with them in this space. Yeah. So this is a follow-up from the first question around consolidation capability with DOM. The question was, will it do intercompany transactions as a part of that consolidation? Today we don't do intercompany at all. So, but when we do intercompany, then consolidation will also create intercompany transactions.
Just a second question. When you talked about the receipt designer,
Yeah.
one of the things that was demonstrated at the last summit 12 months ago that really I was looking forward to was the XML designer. Is that what you're referring to as an improvement?
No.
It looked really like a much better back then.
Yeah, so I'm not fully versed with what was demonstrated at the last conference, but this is a new bunch of improvements that we are working upon. Yeah, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you can share some time frame around the product recommendation release.
Sure. So typically, anything that we put publicly in terms of roadmap is at a, I don't know the latest term for it, but we used to call it spring and fall, right? Yeah, so it's publicly available, it's listed out there. So we have got a public facing document that talks about everything that's going to be available in October this year as well as April next year. And if my understanding is correct, product recommendation is part of the October, am I correct or no? I've got people from a team in the background.
It would be
April?
late October or next April.
So April, I think it's most probably going to be late October, like the end of the year, early part of next year.
Okay, maybe just a quick other question.
Yeah.
The RSAT capabilities, are that just for the CPOS or it's going to apply on the MPOS as well?
It's going to apply for both. Yes. It might start off with one, probably CPOS, I believe, to begin with, but it will eventually get into MPOS as well. Yes, sir.
We launched MPOS with version 7 and recently updated to 10. With the retail cloud scale unit and the decoupling, am I getting any benefit? Because we were not using scale, with the scale unit, the more traditional setup.
Yeah.
Am I getting any benefit, or do I have to reconfigure for the retail cloud scale unit?
No, I think there is a push as customers get on to latest versions. There is an exercise to actually get customers onto RCSU. So that's a journey. It's a transition that's going to happen. So you would benefit from RCSU investments in the near future as you upgrade to some of those newer releases. Yeah. Is that it? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yes. So business events is a platform level capability in the back office. So you can use that for any kind of scenarios that you have. Even for back office, it's back office limited, yes. So even for retail scenarios in the back office, yes. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.